Hi guys, and welcome to Doug's Shoe Bushcraft. Today I'll be hiking through a blizzard out to a lean-to shelter, a log shelter that I built a year ago. It's been unattended for about a year, so I'll see how it's holding up, if I can still use it. And my topic today is the creature of fire. So you may be wondering what I mean by that, the creature of fire. Does he expect us to believe that fire is alive? And not necessarily, but this is a way of thinking that goes back thousands of years. I mean, fire is animated, right? We wouldn't call it an inanimate object, at least I wouldn't. And if you can continue to consider what fire is, what it does, it's almost like it eats, it breathes, it moves, it multiplies. It can seem to be healthy or sick, growing or fading. And of course we know that fire is warm. In other words, it's almost like it has body heat. And fire is born and it dies. I mean, if it seems to die, but there's some warmth down there in the coals, then there's hope that you might rekindle it again. But when the fire is stone cold, that means it's dead, that it's beyond the hope of resuscitation. So a lot of friends that I talk to in person and online, they're depending on fire to save them if they get into trouble. But look around in a blizzard, everything's wet. You don't have a shelter. You didn't bring a tent or anything or a tarp. You don't have warm enough clothes. You don't have a sleeping bag or a blanket. So you're depending on fire to save you. Could you make fire in the worst of conditions? Most people can't, and no matter who you are, there's a time where you're not going to be able to make a fire, because if you're too sick, or eventually you're out there in the woods long enough, you're just too exhausted, you get hypothermic and your hands don't work right, you have some sort of medical event, heart attack or whatever. There are times when just anyone can't make a fire. But I'd like you to have skills. More skills the better, so there's more of an opportunity for you to make the fire. I'd like you to be able to make a fire when other people couldn't, or maybe you, when you were less experienced, you couldn't, but you learned these skills. So one way to learn is by thinking about the creature of fire. So it eats. In other words, it needs wood. And the fire is born and it grows, it gets bigger and bigger. So a newborn baby, we're not feeding him a sirloin steak, you know, he's nursing and then moves on to like mushy baby food, and as he gets bigger and stronger, bigger and bigger food. So likewise, a baby fire needs tinder, and then you move up to kindling, and then smaller wood, and then larger wood. A fire breathes, it needs air. Air has to get in there. So when you're starting your fire, you need spaces for air to get in. Don't put on big logs. Not only can't the fire eat that, but it needs room to breathe. So just light tinder to begin with, then kindling. And smoke needs to get out. Just like we breathe in and breathe out, fires do the same thing. You need to breathe in, but then the smoke needs to go somewhere. You can't smother either one. And fire seems to move. It multiplies or seems to have babies. You have to be careful out there in the woods. Don't let sparks be flying off your fire. I mean, in a blizzard there's not much of a danger, but in the dry summer you don't want part of a leaf to get caught on the wind. It's smoldering and land somewhere else. Fires can grow. You got to be careful about that. It can have babies. They'll be multiplying all over the place. You'll have a forest fire. You know, a fire can seem to be burning healthy, or it can seem to be sick. You don't want a cold, wet, smoldering fire. You're trying to put green wood on it too soon. You want a healthy, hot fire, not a lot of smoke. Doesn't have to be much smoke at all. A small to medium-sized fire burning cleanly. And a fire, of course, it's warm. It seems to have body heat. So in real cold conditions, you don't want to take the stick you found somewhere out in the woods. Let's say it's 0 degrees out, and you're putting this rather large stick that's cold right on the fire. What you do is you get the fire burning, you collect sticks, you set them around the fire, let them warm up, because then when they warm up for a while, then you put them on top of the fire. Now they can burn. The fire has body heat, and you don't want to be throwing on cold wood. The fire is born, burns for a while, it's bright, it gives off light, beautiful light. It's beautiful. But nothing lasts forever, and then eventually it dies. Could be sooner or later. And it's just like you. Don't get discouraged. You're a beautiful light. You've been shining. You're beautiful. God sees it. Other people appreciate you. I appreciate you. And keep burning well, guys. Take in the proper food that you need. Physical food, but also take care of yourself emotionally. Get the spiritual help and support that you need. Stay in the Word. These are the things we need to shine brightly. I mean, you've been thinking about other people. You've been helping people less fortunate than yourself. I mean, God knows. He sees everything. It's that beautiful light. And people around you, you know, treat people well. Appreciate the people around you. They're not going to be here forever. Thanks for joining me, guys. Let everything that has breath praise the Lord. Psalm 150, 6.